In this course, we're going to learn how to use alarming in Ignition. Alarming is a core feature of the Ignition platform. Alarms are conditions that are evaluated with respect to a specific numeric data point. Most commonly, alarms are configured on tags. Any number of alarms can be attached to a data point. When the alarm condition becomes true, the alarm is considered to be active. When the alarm condition becomes false after it has been true, the alarm is said to have cleared. It's also possible for an operator to go into the application and acknowledge the alarm, thus making it acknowledged at a particular time. For example, on an analog tag, you might add a high-level alarm that goes active when the tag's value is over 50. On a discrete tag, you might configure an alarm to be active when the value is non-zero. There are many different conditions you can set up for alarms. Each alarm is going to have its own name, priority, and many other settings in Ignition. Once you configure the alarms, you can view the status of the alarms in Ignition, acknowledge the alarms, and shelve the alarms. You can log the alarms to a database for alarm history, and you can notify people when the alarms occur via email, SMS, and voice. Let's first look at how we can configure alarms on tags before we go into status, notification, and history. So I'm in the Ignition Designer. On the left-hand side in our tag browser, we can configure alarms on any tag we see in here. Typically, we put alarms on OPC tags that come from the PLC. But we can also put alarms on memory tags, query tags, expression tags, and tags that are inside of UDTs. We can also put alarms on our system tags, tags that Ignition provides to you about the system, such as our system, gateway, performance. I can put alarms on the CPU usage and memory usage of the Ignition server. That'll allow me to notify people when that gets too high. Like I said, typically we put alarms on OPC tags. So I'm going to go down to my writable integer 1 tag, and I want to put an alarm on here when the value is equal to 2. So I'm going to right-click on the tag and edit the tag, and go to the alarming section left-hand side. Here I can add one or more alarms to this tag. The bottom left, I can just press the plus icon to add an alarm, and on the right-hand side, I configure all of the settings for that alarm. Every alarm is going to have a name. That's what you're going to see on the screen. I'm going to call this one fault. You can make the alarm enabled or disabled. You can set the priority of every alarm, which is a way of classifying how important that alarm is. It's the severity, from diagnostic all the way to critical. Let's say this alarm here is critical. I can also set up a display path. If I leave this empty here, Ignition is going to show you the full path to the tag, which in my case is writable/writable integer 1. And that may make no sense to an operator. So I'm going to go over here and type something that's more human readable, like machine A. You can specify the acknowledgement mode, which is who is allowed to acknowledge the alarm and where that's going to happen from. And typically you want to set that to manual, where the operators are going to acknowledge it inside of the Ignition client. You can also set it to unused or automatically acknowledged. You can specify notes so operators can see what to do with that alarm. So I'm just going to type here are some notes. You can specify if you want them to be required to add a note in when they acknowledge the alarm. You can also specify if you want them to be able to shelve that alarm, to temporarily silence the alarm, which we'll talk about in a future lesson. Now we can configure the actual setting, the condition for when the alarm goes true. And there are many conditions: when the value is equal to a set point, not equal to, above, below set point, between set points, outside of set points, out of range, bad quality, any change, bit state, or on condition. So for my case, I want to make this go into alarm when the value is equal to 2. So I'm going to set the mode to equal and the set point here to be 2. At the bottom we have some other settings here, deadbands and time delays. So we can specify a deadband for when we want to evaluate the alarm, the deadband mode. We can specify an active delay and clear delay, which is number of seconds it has to be in that state for us to actually consider it active or cleared. We can put that alarm into different pipelines for notification, and we can customize messages that get sent out. But for the minimum settings here is just to kind of provide the name, what we're going to display, some notes, as well as the actual condition here. Once I configure the alarm, I can press OK. And on the right-hand side of the tag, you'll notice that there's a bell. That's signifying that there's an alarm configured on that tag. So my condition is when the value is equal to 2. So of course, right now it should be active. I can see that by expanding my tag and looking at all the meta properties. So if I look here, I can see the alert active is true. It's also showing me that the alarm highest unact name is fault. That's the one that's right now that is active. And so there's quite a few meta properties that we can actually use on screens. I can just drag these onto a screen and display them in labels or buttons or circles or whatever I want to display them. So if I set this value here to a value of 1, that would actually clear the alarm. And so it would no longer be active. As you can see, alert active is false. If I set it back to 2, it's going to be active again. You can see it go to true. So it's very easy to configure simple alarms on tags.